Nemesis. A true story. It was a beautiful morning. I was looking completely out of my window at the almost horizontal rain slashing against the outsides of yesterday's buildings. The freezing fog had lifted just enough for me to see the stinky deluge of rainwater and city detritus sloshing down the street towards the so-called river. I lit a cigarette and held it out at arm's length away from me. I don't smoke, and I'm not about to start now, thank you very much, pilgrims. Something's wrong, my thoughts told me, as I was surveying the scene on the other side of my window. Where's the sun? I thought, and not for the first time. Somebody's stolen the sun. This could be the work of only one man, either Dr. McNasty or the evil Professor Beakley were responsible for this. I was sure of it. This was a state of emergency, so I swept my teeth very quickly. Too quickly, some may say, as my gums began to bleed blood. I spat the blood out of my mouth and into the sink. I've always been the opposite of Dracula. Look again, advised my mother from her usual spot in the corner of my room. I say my mother, but it's actually a full-length mirror with two different coloured wigs on top of it. That said, I took her advice and looked again. I'm sick of looking, mother, I grumped. Isn't it about time I learned to do something else with these eyes of mine? No, she responded, all too quickly. You don't deserve it, ever since you ruined that day out to Skipton Castle for me and your Uncle Soup. Humph, went my mouth, and my attitude followed. The looking again, however, had worked. The sun, if you can call it that, can you? Yes, you can, had revealed itself from its hiding place behind a rain cloud. Ha! I farted triumphantly. I win again. My celebration, however, was not long in manifesting its true hubristic and premature nature, as my eyes beheld the unmistakable figures of Dr. Metropolis's homemade war robots on what I, in all fairness, call the horizon. The giant metal monsters were glinting rust-coloured in the recently re-established sunlight. That's it, thought I. I knew this time would come, and like a newborn baby fresh from the womb, I ran out of my house and jumped onto my motorbike, ripping my skirt in the process. I say motorbike, I mean Riccardo, the Italian exchange student who rents my garage for God knows what. I put Riccardo into first gear, and dare I say, we went like the clap, no I dare not, down towards the horizon to confront at last the mad doctor and his terrible contraptions. As I approached closer, I realised the appalling truth of the situation. Bloody Anthony Gormley, I sulked, and skidded Riccardo round to head back to the start of this bit, both geographically and narratively speaking. Riccardo was puffed out, so I fed him a quick furry swan egg and injected some oil of Ulay into his dad. This did do the trick, and Riccardo shot off like the fat out of gel. It was not ideal, as I had not remounted Riccardo, and I watched him spark off into the distance with a tear in my eyes. I wish I was in the distance, I said to myself, but I completely ignored this comment. Sometimes I can be so rude. There was a shop selling sandwiches across the street. Amazing what they can do these days, isn't it? I went in and exchanged a piece of paper with a picture of the Queen on it for a ham bap and 3 gold coins. "What's this?" I said, holding the coins in my right hand and the bap in my wrong one. "Change," replied the sandwich man, the man I held responsible for this outrage. "You change, Mr. Sandwich," I angrily retorted, but Mr. Sandwich never changes, not for anyone. I was standing back out on what I like to call the street, about to bite into my ham bap, when I noticed something very strange indeed. What I actually held was 2 slices of ham with a bap in the middle, the opposite, if you like, of what a traditional ham bap should be. This can only be the work of the diabolical Dr. Opposite, I enthused, and Mr. Sandwich is his accomplice. I burst back into the shop and confronted Mr. Sandwich with the new truth I had learned of his real identity. I don't know who Dr. Opposite is. My name's not Mr. Sandwich, and that what you hold in your hand is a perfectly good ham bap, sir. A classic example, in fact, came his threefold defence. I looked down and realised that at least on the 3rd count he was right. I'd done it again. I'd mixed up the idea of ham and baps the wrong way round in my head. "Damn you," I spat. "I'll get you next time, Mr. Sandwiches. But as I'm here, can I have a croque monsieur to go with my bap?" "Ha!" blinked Mr. Sandwich. "You can't catch me out with your sneaky treatments. We both know as well as you do that croque monsieur is doing life, a Baggy Mead maximum security prison for crimes against normality. Now stop clutching at straws, you." "Bah! Foiled again," I said, putting down the straws, and backed out of the shop slowly, not for one instant taking my eyes off the inside of my eyelids. It was nearly time for Mother's bath and polish, so I decided to go home. I was crossing a bit of wasteland, and I spotted a hole in the ground with some animal tracks leading down into it. The chilling realisation that this could only be the work of the badger dripped into my head. I wrung out my brain drip dry of this matter and continued on my way. Today was no day to be tackling the badger, not without my collection of thimble houses and at least the proper soundtrack. I was having a lovely day so far. I had defeated all but one of my arch Nemesis, and it had been no skin at all off either of my noses. I switched the TV on, which I always carry on my back, and I turned over the channel to see if the grass was greener on the other side. I'm glad to report that it wasn't, but then again, it is a black and white TV. I was actually getting a bit bored of all this good luck, so when I finally got into home, I smashed my mother in her face with a hammer. That should make the next 7 years a bit more exciting, I screamed at my 67 mothers on the floor. And with that, my final nemesis was put smoothly to rest. Phew, I peeped and got inside my bed. What a wonderful adventure. Time for sleep, I told myself. Or did I? Yes. Now all that remains is to set my alarm clock. Or should I say, Dr. Alarm Clock? as I triumphantly took the hammer to the ticking, plotting madman on my beside the bed table. You thought I didn't know, didn't you, you cad? But there was no answer. There's never an answer. Or is there? No. Night, night.